in the second last game of the season, and in a game where the Islanders finally officially clinched a playoff spot, the Montreal Canadiens come up short, but with a goal from Rem Pitlick and Suzuki's goal of the year, we still have a lot to talk about on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's game reaction edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. And a reminder, as always, to hit subscribe if you haven't already, guys. There's one game left in the season. We're in the final stretch here. Thank you so much for tuning into all these episodes. We really appreciate it. Jesse, second last game of the season. And honestly, what's kind of crazy is I didn't think I'd be saying this, but at this point in the year, Montreal played a game in what felt like a playoff atmosphere. You could feel the energy from the Islanders fans tonight as they were on the verge of clinching a playoff spot, and I think Montreal kind of fed off it for a bit, and I think that might be a good omen going forward.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere tonight. You know, it was one of these games where it's like, you know, my head is telling me, yes, you know, we should lose. You know, we should do everything we can to at least secure chances at a top 5 draft pick. But, you know, my heart is just telling me, no, I don't want to lose this game. I want us to compete, and I just want us to play spoiler against the Islanders here tonight. But that's it. You know, very much we were right there in this game, pretty much all the way through. Great atmosphere. You could tell many of the Islanders fans, they were just on the edge of their seat the entire game. So this really led to a really nice environment for this one. Us just coming up a little bit short, but you had to feel with even just recent players that we sent down to the Laval Rockets to help with their playoff effort. Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Jesse Ylönen, Corey Schueneman, like even players like this, like they might have made the difference in this game tonight. But alas, it's a development year, and we're trying to do what's best for the farm team right now.
Yeah, hey, that's very true. And guys, if you weren't paying attention, the Laval Rocket in their first game against the Toronto Marlies won. They beat the Marlies 6-3, and when it was 5-3, Ylönen had a goal, and Harvey-Pinard had 4 assists. I don't know if either of them got a point on the final goal, but regardless, Pinard with at least 4 assists in that game. Just wild. It's going to be awesome to watch the Rocket going forward in the next couple weeks, and I guess they might be our main focus come a couple days from now because there's not going to be any more Habs news. But Jesse, you're right. The Habs did step up, and I feel like those guys could have made a difference, but at the same time, Frédéric Allard looked pretty good in his second game of the season, and Teasdale in his debut this year, hey, he almost scored. He batted a puck out of midair and hit the post, so these guys were filling in the roles perfectly fine. And Jesse, something we've seen all year, the Habs have tended to, not always, sometimes they get absolutely smoked, but sometimes they like to play up to the level of their opponent. And in a game where, as you mentioned before the show, all the pressure was on the Islanders. A win and you're in, a loss and Pittsburgh gets a chance to jump you. The pressure was on them, but with the atmosphere, the Habs played up to this playoff team's level and really kept it close until the very end. What do you think were some factors in that, besides maybe Samuel Montembeault bailing us out once again?
Well, I think just some young guys kind of coming up that are still playing for their NHL careers. You know, the list of such players including Jonathan Drouin at this point, you know, who you got to feel he's auditioning for a spot in the NHL. But also Joe Teasdale that came up tonight. And I really liked his game tonight, Josh, especially in that first, you know, let's face it, no Habs really had like an amazing game tonight. But in that first period, we were definitely getting some good chances. And I really liked his opportunity where he's kind of taking a hit, or he's kind of initiating contact, but kind of taking that hit, going to the front of the net, kind of swiping off a shot and just ringing the post with it. So an amazing opportunity. You wish for him so much that he could have converted on that chance. What an amazing feeling and story that would have been for him, but a great effort all the same. So I feel like a lot of this energy is what's been really reinvigorating our team at the end of this season.
Energy is a big thing, and a lot of it, even in this game, like you just said, came from that fourth line of Teasdale, Tierney, and Michael Pezzetta, who is always in the center of this kind of energy boost from the team. I mean, I think that goal early from Rem Pitlick set the tone, tied the game. It's like the crowd went silent, and I think the players are like, holy crap, we haven't had this feeling since early in the year where you're just silencing the opposing crowd who feel like there's a lot on the line. And when a team gets that level of that extra boost, they get that extra gear, right? And with the roster, the Habs really have no business competing with a playoff team, but it was awesome to see that amazing one-timer from Pitlick from Jake Evans. Overall, though, Jesse, I think the Islanders were kind of all over the Habs this game. Not a whole lot of positives, but let's take a moment, talk about the big thing in the thumbnail, Nick Suzuki's goal of the year. Guys, I don't have a video clip, but basically, just to describe it, a little play-by-play, it's short-handed. Nick Suzuki is racing for the puck. I'm not sure which Islanders defenseman it was. Suzuki is about 10 feet behind him. beats him at the hash marks, one arm on the defender, one arm on his stick, just reaches out with his stick to the left, one-handed, backhand chip right over the glove of Sorokin. I immediately, my reaction was like, what, like, I can't say the word I said. One of the goals of the year regardless, definitely the best from any Hab, I think, this year. Jesse, just run me through your thoughts when you saw it, because it was insane.
Well, we knew that Nick Suzuki was a good golfer coming from the festivities at the All-Star game, where he won the I don't even know how you can describe it.
I try to forget that event, Jesse.
Challenge, right? You know, but he was showing that skill, and tonight that was on display again. Definitely, you know, with just a beautiful chip shot, you know, over Eeli Sorokin to score that goal tonight. Stood out for me though, Josh. It's just that effort where you think it's kind of a dead play.
Yeah.
You know, but he somehow manages to just kind of get to that first, and then once he does get to the puck, just that amount of touch, you know, and finesse and skill that he really shows to put that in, as we've seen many times so far this year on breakaways, very reminiscent of his Datsyukian chip shots, which he likes to take on those breakaways. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of that similar touch and skill. You know, that same skill set on display tonight with that goal. So, I mean, just beautiful to see, and so nice to see him ending the season off strong, having played in all road games this year, and just to score a beauty like this, just to keep padding his career level totals in terms of points. You know, really happy, definitely a bright spot tonight.
Points and goals. He's now only one behind my boy Cole Caufield. This is the Cole Caufield head. If you guys didn't know, I'll show it. I haven't really shown it before. I bought it at the Bell Center. It's pretty sweet. But yeah, he's only one goal behind Cole Caufield for the lead on the Habs now. Suzuki at 25, Caufield at 26. It's insane that Caufield's still in the lead at this point, but I guess not that surprising. But yeah, Suzuki with an incredible game. I don't even know if we mentioned that goal was shorthanded. Like, that was just like an afterthought almost after that amazing play. So now Suzuki, again, just phenomenal. We thought he might have lost his mojo for a little bit there, but it's cool to see him playing this well in these final games of the season. A couple other things I wanted to touch on, Jesse. Just some weird plays that happened in the game. Gallagher had a bit of a knee-on-knee with one of the Islanders players there in the second. That caused a scrap. Pajot came right at him, and Gallagher just decked him as he came at him. And you understand, right? Knee-on-knee, completely unintentional. Gallagher felt bad. There was no ill will after that. You got to go after him if you're the Islanders players. But then later in the game, Jesse, it was 3-2 Habs. The Habs had some momentum, and Mike Hoffman gets maybe the most Mike Hoffman penalty ever, where he's just unnecessarily just like cross-checking an Islanders player in the back until the player just drops to the ice. Penalty. Islanders score on the power play. Game over. Those two things there, I mean, I want to say they're negative things, but to me it's like these guys are still playing with a bit of spirit, and that's something, I guess.
Yeah, Gallagher definitely pulling a little bit of the wild man on that one, but we know he's not a dirty player,
no,
or anything like that. But at the same time, Josh, you know, when you're kind of looking at the lineup, you know, pre-game and everything, I'm really thinking to myself, like, I'm happy that we have Brendan Gallagher on this team. One of the few veterans on this team.
He's a
right?
legacy.
You know, you could look exactly like you could look at Armia and things like that, but I feel like, you know, there's much higher chance that Gallagher is going to be on this team next year to Armia. A lot of these, you know, veterans that we do have, even though it's not many on this young team, are going to be gone. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people do say, about Brendan Gallagher that he's overpaid. But what I would say to that is the same, you know, I would echo the same sentiment as many Habs fans who've been watching this team for a long time, is that he was underpaid for many years as a Montreal Canadian. Mm-hmm. And what he's getting paid now is really a lot of back pay, right? I think that it balances out when you underpay for a player for certain years for his production to this team, which we certainly were. I think it's only fair that would balance out at a certain point. I think that we need to kind of keep that in mind when we're evaluating Brendan Gallagher's place on this team, his importance. I think going forward that it is important to keep some veterans around. And he is one of the few that I would keep around. Yeah,
if you can make the money work, I'd say try your best to do it. And I also do understand that as you're building for a contender in the future, that kind of $6.5 million contract for the production he's giving can hamper a team. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, if you're Montreal staff, you're Montreal management, you're probably going to try to do whatever you can. Gallagher's clearly loved in the organization, and I hope he sticks around for a while, because he's a lot of people's favorite Hab, at least that's still around. But quickly, let's look forward a bit, Jesse, just for the next couple days, see what's going on. Habs play the Bruins tomorrow night, final game of the season, and I don't think this season, like, if Montreal beats Boston tomorrow, I think that would be, like, just the perfect ending to this season, right? Theoretically. Because, theoretically, Montreal beating Boston, the team that just won the President's Trophy, broke Montreal's record for most points in a season by a team. It'd be so Montreal to beat them in a tanking season. However, guys, one thing I wanted to say, if Arizona loses to, well, basically, if Montreal loses to Boston tomorrow, they're guaranteed a top 5 position in the draft lottery. If Montreal wins, they need Arizona to beat Vancouver tomorrow night. So there are a lot of draft implications tomorrow night. Jesse, call it right now. Do you think Montreal stays in the top 5 in the lottery, or do you think that they'll beat Boston and Arizona will somehow sneak beneath us?
I think that we will stay in the top 5 position because Boston is going to be like a surprisingly full team tomorrow night. So I feel, that being said, that we will inevitably lose that game, we're also, we've sent some players down as well, where we're not putting our best foot forward, in these last couple games here as well. So I think putting those factors together, a W, but it'll work out to be a win in the end.
Yeah, I got the same thing. I think the Habs are going to get smoked by the Bruins. I'm thinking like 4-1, 5-1 if the Bruins put out a full roster. Desperately holding on to that top 5 position. The draft lottery is less than a month away. Couldn't be more excited. Looking forward to next year for sure. But yeah, a few exciting things to happen in the next day or two, including Laval. But that'll do it for this game reaction edition of Habs Digest. If there's any more news, we'll update you in the next couple days as well. But if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Help us hit 5,000 subs. We're so close. We can taste it. We want to get there by the off season, and you guys can help us out with that. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.